Okay, welcome everyone. I'm looking today to continue our theme for around strength for runners, or strength for everybody to be honest, but we're looking also specifically at the running body through the summer. And last week we sort of focused a little bit more on accessing strength, understanding what your core is, understanding kind of how you can relate, build, and do that fairly gently. It doesn't need to be this really overly strained activity. That's often we go to core, we think we need to strain or stress the system. So last week was a gentle way of kind of really finding your core, really finding your strength. So this week we're looking more at breath and balance, but we're looking at breath more from the diaphragm perspective. And I think most of us know that diaphragmatic breathing is a positive way to provide ourselves with good health and support in movement and in stillness. So we're going to do movements to support our release of the diaphragm, and we're going to do some balance exercises to strengthen, stabilize. So we'll move on with that. Okay, so we're going to start with some basic movement. So I know you can't see my legs at this stage, or the bottom of my legs, and that's because most of the activity is going to be done with the arms. So just allow your arms to be by your side to start with. And we're just going to reach the arms up above our head towards the sky and bring them back down. So we might be taking the arms a little bit behind us when they come down. So we get a little bit more scope to feel what's going on in the rib cage and have this sense that we've got our pelvis, our rib cage and our head, our skull broadly in line, rather than any issues about jutting out with chest and banana in the lower back. So that's me banana-ing. I don't want to do the banana-ing act because it's not good for lower backs generally. So just a sense of extension through the side body, extension through the rib cage, getting more into these muscles, intercostal muscles. So if you want to use the breath, use the breath. If you want to just find the flow, find the flow. So if you're using the breath, you're going to use the in-breath to support you with the arms going up, and a release and a letting go with the out breath. So just see if you can get a little bit more into allowing the arms to drop down now. So you take the arms up and then you let the arms drop. Take the arms up and let the arms drop. So it's partly the shoulder release, partly to just change the whole kind of way we relate to the body. So just a few more. This sort of movement. Lengthen and drop the arms down. So again, there'll be a little bit more of the arms releasing back. So starting to just let that movement have come to a way to just release the arms into stillness. See if you can not just feel the arms and how the arms are after that, whether they're tensed up more, whether they're achy, whether they're freer, but also notice the feet on the ground, the connection with the ground, so support from the ground. And also notice any changes that might be in the breath, that you're feeling more space for the breath, more conscious of the breath, more conscious of the breath around the rib cage area. Okay. So we're changing the movements, but we're still working with the same idea. So we're sweeping the arms up and out to the side. And that's a slightly different way of connecting with the rib cage. So if we're thinking about on the in-breath, taking the arms up, that's when the rib cage will normally expand out slightly to the sides, quite subtle, and on the out breath it kind of returns to a settled state. If you feel comfortable as you sweep the arms up, just taking your gaze upwards and then back into neutral. And follow that. If the neck doesn't feel comfortable, so no strain for the neck, just lighten gaze more up towards the sky, up towards the ceiling. So there's kind of energy sweeping the arms up and control bringing the arms down for now. So last time we were dropping the arms, this time it's almost like there's some resistance as the arms come down. So it's like taking your arms through water, so there's that slowing down and that control. So up to you whether you use the breath. If you're interested and you find the breath work interesting, then see if we can slow the in-breath and the out-breath slightly as we extend the arms on the in-breath. And out-breath to return. Just one more, with the breath or without the breath, just doing the flow if that feels more comfortable at this stage. Okay, and again, just see how the breath feels. Okay, so I'm going to step forward with my left leg. So it's a short distance in front. And I'm going to use my right arm across the body now. So before we kind of swept the arm up and we've taken the arms out to the side. So I'm finding momentum from the shoulder to get the arm to rock up and then drop back. Rock up and then drop back. So that's more like what we're doing with the first movement when we took the arms in front of us. And if you can follow the arm with the gaze, the eyes with the hands, so the gaze follows the hand, as long as that feels okay. So these are sort of more, they're faster, they're more rhythmic. It's just about using gravity, if you like, to create more openness on the right side of the body. Keep the knees slightly bent if you can, only in terms of creating softness rather than pushing back at all in the legs. So my front knee is slightly bent, the back leg is just sort of soft behind the knee. So there'll be feel the breeze maybe on the arms as you go, as you take these movements to a reasonable pace. Okay, and then allow that again to dissipate, slow up, slow up, slow up, just a natural release. Come back into your neutral position. Feel both arms, or have a sense of both arms. So you feel your legs, and then obviously forward. So you're not doing that. So taking the right foot forward and letting the left arm get into the swing. So easy movement, but we're working still with creating a space around the side ribs, particularly to get the diaphragm to release. So again, lifting the arm up and then release, forward then back, adding in the movement of the head if that's comfortable by taking the gaze to position where the hand is in front of you and then the hand behind you. And seeing if this feels easier than the other side, soft with the legs, with the back of the knees. There's a little bit more weight goes into the front foot. So that is the one that's taking the weight as the arm swings down, as the arm swings down. And feeling that, that openness in the side ribs as you get the momentum and see how things go with the breath. So again, slowing that movement up by just not taking the arm up quite so far, so the momentum eventually just naturally returns to a quiet spot. So taking the feet at least shoulder distance apart. Let the knees be soft, bend the knees slightly. And let's sweep the left arm up and over. So again, a little bit more into the side body. Same arm for a few repetitions. So again, it's more like the second movement where we're keeping control of the arms, so we're going through water to get ourselves up, and same back, some control, so we're not just letting the arm flop down. Getting to side body might get easy if you do this. You may have gone too far too early, and now you're finding that you're going to have to kind of limit the movement. See if it feels nice, if it feels opening. So if, let's say, 3 more on this side. And release. Just relax in center for a moment. Release any tension that's been created in the eyes, the forehead, or around the jaw, the tongue, and the throat. And we'll start the second side off. So over, controlled return. Over. This is my tight side. Over. Controlled return. Over. Controlled return. So there might be different places where you feel tension around the right side, the rib cage, or below in the waist, or below in the hip. So the lengthening obviously is not just happening in the area around the rib cage, it's all the way down that side body. So 3 more on this second side. And feet back together. So make sure you've got enough space to be able to take your arms quite loosely around the body to just get more into a twist. See how things are going. Left side, right side of the rib cage. Keep a sense of length through the spine if you can here. And let the arms go with the momentum again, as we did in some movements earlier. So we start to actually bend the elbows to get more contact of the body from the arms around the diaphragm. Slow that, let the arms just extend rather than being bent here. And again, we're coming to a slowing up time. So slow, slow, slow. Excellent. And again, find a happy position to just relax in center for a moment. Get that sense of energy now as well that's in the body, in the arms, in the joints, in the centre of the body, and the breathings. So we're going to do one more flow for the diaphragm, and then we'll do more working with balance and stability. So most of you that come to my classes regularly are aware of this. It might be maybe a little bit more helpful to see the knees on this one. Okay. So I'm hip distance apart, anywhere that you feel stable with the feet, try to get the knees to bend and get a little bit more of fluidity and space for the joints in the legs and the knees. So we can allow the arms to come up and release down. And as we do that, we allow ourselves to bend at the hips, which means we need generally to bend at the knees. The knees bend, ankles get a little flexibility, hips get a little flexibility, and we can get a little bit more sense of speed, and we can start to bring the breath in specifically to do more of a slightly more forceful out breath with this movement. So I'm blowing through the lips. So it's very warming, very energizing, using the whole body, but also by using the breath, getting the diaphragm to work a bit more. So if you've got scope to feel comfortable with the back and go a little bit quicker, I'm going to go a little bit quicker. And then just start to allow that to slow up a little bit. And then find a way to come to stillness again. And let the breath come back to its more gentler position. So if you're happy just to follow that through by taking the fingers around the front of the body and the thumb around the back, just broadly at the bottom end of the rib cage. If you can, as soon as you can, come into nasal breathing, breathing through the nostrils, so keeping the mouth closed, if that's possible for you today. And be really aware of the movement in the side ribs. So for some of us, this is really tight, so we're just trying to loosen that area. So sometimes we get a little bit confused with strength being rigidity in the body, so we're trying to work with flexibility for this muscle, this key breathing muscle. Try not to tense too much in the shoulders, and it's a tricky one. And release the hands there, with the shake out, legs shake out, arms shake out. Okay, so it's time for doing a little bit of balancing work. Okay. So let's see how we go with this. So I'm going to work with my arms first. That's what I'm suggesting you do, and then we'll add in the legs to get the balance going. So we're doing a flow with the arms, like a flying movement. So really soft in the wrists. So we're really fluid arms. And once you've kind of got a sense of where we're going with this, slow it up. It's much more interesting to see how you can control much more with the slow movement. And imagine these arms or wings, and they're actually coming from the center of the upper back. Can you feel like the movement is initiated more from the center of the back? And the answer might be, I don't know what you mean, or an answer might be, I really can't find that place. So we're often find it very difficult to connect to the center of the back. Just see if you can really feel it, just be aware of it, and if not, imagine it, initiating the movement, the muscles in the back. Okay, so we're going to start to use the legs now. And it's basically bringing one knee up as high as hip height, if that's comfortable, and then the other side. Okay, so as we take the arms up, we're in flight. Okay, and then the other side. Now, if you have your feet broadly kind of a fist distance apart, that's usually easier to not disrupt and rock over to one side too much. I'm probably taking my arms a little bit higher now, but that feels right for me at the moment. So see if you can manage to maintain a sense of flow while you're maintaining a sense of balance. The arms are the wings. It's almost like the knees are being picked up by a string, by a puppet string. So the lower legs are really kind of soft and at ease rather than feeling like they need to do the work. So you're not picking up by your foot, you're being picked up by your knee. And there's an elegance about it. See, I'm probably going to fall over on my face now. And there's a softness in the arms with this movement. And there's a rhythm. So we find in rhythm all the time when we move, when we walk, when we run. We're kind of doing nothing different here than we would in any movement. We want to find the easiest way to get there and to find a lightness to the movement. So some of you find that really easy, that finding lightness in movement. Some of you might find that a little bit more difficult. Okay, so one more each side. Actually could have done it a lot slower than this. And that's more demanding on the body, more demanding on the balance. Okay. Again, just see how the energy is in the body after that. Okay, so hands up position, cactus arm position. And see how the arms feel in terms of being connected to the upper back now might be clearer. Because there's usually a stabilizing effect here, so the shoulder blades feel a little bit more connected. It can feel quite weighted for some people, like, oh, how long am I going to keep my arms up? So let's, if you just watch the movement as I start and then start to join it. So it's the same thing, I'm lifting my knee up, but this time I'm rotating the elbow towards the knee, but I'm keeping my spine in neutral, so I'm not crunching forward. It's just that as I pick the leg up, and the knee might come slightly more into center, that the opposite arm drifts over. So I want to keep this fairly slow and to be more challenging to your balance as you find a flow. If you need to bring the elbows down a little bit more just because of tiredness. So a long spine, but the spine is doing its rotation, doing its twist from top to bottom. But again, we're trying to find poise with the movement, balance with the movement. So if you kind of land the feet, as I say, about fist width apart, so quite narrow, so there isn't temptation to We'll fall to one side. We're lengthening through the spine. And we're doing controlled movements as much as possible to strengthen and to, that we're getting into the parts that we need to get into. So this is core work going on. And just notice that it's easier on one side to float in compared to the other side. So one more on each side. And try and find the breath in all of these movements if you can. So it might not be, ooh, arms down. Oh, that's so nice. Okay. So we're not going to do arm movements with the next one, which you might think is great. We can leave the arms out of it for a little while. Let's have a shake out the arms. So let's have a shake out the legs. And if there's any issues with the back, feeling a bit uncomfortable lower back, then just round the back as you bring the knee a few times in the centre. Arms all to do this, hopefully. Again, ends up being slight balance, isn't it? So, used to doing this. Okay, so I think you'll be able to see me. I don't think I need to adjust the camera yet again. So I'm keeping the legs again fairly close together, that kind of feet broadly fist distance apart, so that when I pick up, when I bend one knee and pick up one leg, then it's going to be easier. So I'm going to try and keep my knees in line and just lift one foot off the ground. So my knees are still, thighs are still next to each other. Yeah, I'm not sticking my knee forward. I'm not letting my knee drift behind me. Basically, both thighs are in line and my foot's behind me. Okay, and we're going to do these hip hikes. So the work, I've released my left leg, so on my right leg, in terms of the mirror image for you. And the work's going to go on in the standing leg. Okay, so already this is a little bit of a test. We're going to balance. Don't push, avoid pushing into the standing leg back of the knee, because that's just not good for the knee. Okay, so from here, allow the knee, the bent knee to drop. Go back and come up. Go down, go back, come up, go forward. And then realize, if you can, that the work is coming from the glute and the opposite bum cheek. That thing, and you can touch that area so that you can do these circular movements as you would be doing actually within any walking or running movement. It's going to be this kind of movement here. But obviously we're exaggerating it and it's going to start to burn. Yeah, it should be burning more in this side, yeah, in the leg that's actually doing the up, forward and back, up, forward, down, back, maybe. So if it's really starting to burn, see if you can do a couple more. I'm just so cruel. If you really had enough and it's kind of like it's freezing or, you know, it's really, really difficult to come out of it. You can manage more with me. I'm suffering with you. That might help. Woo! Yeah. Okay, I lost the balance. That's teaching me to be silly. Okay. And both legs down. Oh, yeah. I can feel that side still. That's quite tricky. Side. I'm just really looking forward to the second side being lovely. Okay. Look forward so I don't actually get my knee, my foot onto the radiator. Okay, so second side. So just let the foot, heel drift up. Check that your knees and your thighs are in line. Start off with, check your balance. And we're going to be working on our left side, our left side glute muscles. So let the knee drift down, back, up, forward and down, back and up, forward and we just got this. So it's a real building block, this hip hike routine. Everything needs to be working in terms of core support, but we're mobilizing, yeah, so it's a really good one to see if you can maintain your balance, maintain your support without pushing back into that standing knee. And trying to breathe and not create tension somewhere else in the body. Let's say 3 or 4 more on this side. It's burning slightly, I mean that in the nicest possible way that we're doing the work. One more, if you can manage that. Just getting into nice burn. Okay, and it's not a strain, it's just work. It's really tricky sometimes doing the difference, so hopefully things are okay with that. Okay, let's just have a shake out. Okay, so let's just get the breath back and do a straightforward sequence just to finish off with. So sweeping the arms up. And then step back a bit, and then it's more like the fingertips are coming together and down front of the body. Okay, and I'm slightly bending my knees actually here. Feet hip distance apart. So up and then a sense of hands coming parallel, fingers parallel. So if you can choose to breathe in on the way up, down on the way out. So it's a flow and it's a sense of gathering in and bringing in terms of an energy sense, if that makes any sense to you at all. Not just find the flow of the arms, space that they go in, and controlled release down the center. So 3 more. Hey everyone, so hopefully a little bit of strength work with the focus of diaphragm release and balance, because that's effectively what we're doing when we are running. We're going on one leg, we're going on the leg. So these sort of strength-based work for the legs, particularly the hip hikes, are really useful ones to do. So hopefully that was interesting, and got another session next week where we'll still be looking at strength, but maybe from a different angle, maybe a little bit quicker, a little bit more flows. I'll see how it goes when I just plan through over the week. So thank you for joining me and have a good week. Thanks again.